For the government this morning, the Science and Technology Secretary, Peter Carr, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Your reaction, first of all, to the news that the US Embassy is being closed in Kiev for now and those inside being told to shelter in place.
I'm not surprised because we've seen escalation from Vladimir Putin when he has every opportunity after 1,000 days to de-escalate. But it is a shocking escalation on behalf of Vladimir Putin. And this is something we should take very, very seriously.
What does it mean for the Brits there?
But we're doing everything we can, as you can imagine. I won't go into sort of operational
Are we
matters,
closing our
but,
embassy?
well, these things will be dealt with by the Ministry of Defence. They are looking very, very carefully at the situation. We will do whatever it takes to keep our people safe. It will be based on the evidence and the intelligence that we have at any moment.
Could it be reasonable to say that you are looking at potentially doing the same, given what the US is doing?
As you can imagine, every day we're assessing all of the evidence that intelligence brings to us, and our relationship with Kiev, with the United States, is very, very tight. It is iterative. We are constantly making assessments about all of the people, civilians, and the people working on behalf of our government there. Our diplomats are working incredibly well in Ukraine. I have absolute fulsome praise for all the work they do every day, day in, day out, to support Ukraine in their hour of need.
OK. Talk to me about what we're going to do about British-made long-range missiles. Are we going to allow them to be used?
I can't give operational information at the moment on these sorts of things because to do so, it would benefit Vladimir Putin more than anyone else. But we are doing everything we can possibly do to support Ukraine in its hour of need. This was an illegal war. It was unwarranted. Vladimir Putin should never have done it. It is now 1,000 days since this conflict started. He really should de-escalate because to end this war, it is in his power to do it today. OK. Something you will have a view on is farmers bringing Whitehall to a standstill yesterday. Are you listening? Of course we're listening. We are always listening.
But you're not going to change your mind?
We are making the difficult decisions to get our finances back in order. We have implemented this policy in a way which affects as few people as possible. And when it does affect these people, the 500 or less people a year out of, 22,000 farms we have in our country, we are making sure that it's done in a way that is as fair as possible and is understanding the needs of farming today. So those people who are affected will pay half the inheritance tax that the rest of the population pay, and about 6% of people across the country will pay the inheritance tax in the first place. They'll also have up to £3 million allowances. And then after that, they'll have 10 years to pay it back, and it's interest-free in that period. We have done everything we can do to implement this policy as fairly as possible to get our finances back in order, but to be as sensitive as possible and understanding as possible for those people who are impacted by it.
You say that, but the Chancellor won't even engage with farmers, won't listen to what farmers have got to say. And the decision was met, or the DEFRA tell us that they only knew the night before the budget that this was going to happen, having promised that it wouldn't happen.
Well, our primary promise to the country is to get our finances back in order and to take all the difficult decisions we have to do so. It has been really difficult for us coming in. You've seen a whole series of incredibly difficult decisions, choices we've had to make. We will do everything we can to get our finances back in order, to get fairness back into the way that our economy runs. The economy the budget was focused on getting growth back into the economy into the long term, to fix the foundations of our country. You cannot have the foundations of our country fixed until you get the finances back in order. We've done that within the first few months of this government. Now, going forward, when you do get growth into the economy, you will see how fairly we distribute that, get our economy going for everyone so that working people are benefiting from all the best of Britain in 2020s. Because at the moment, we inherited a situation where the economy was broken, working people were paying the price and nobody was benefiting. And our economy, Britain, was not delivering for our country in a way that we should do when we're maximising all the potential we have as a country. We have so much faith in our country to succeed, but we were being limited by being held back by the way our economy was being run, the chaos and instability before.
Promises that you can't keep. I mean, the MP for Streatham and Croydon North, I'm not sure what he knows about farms, but there we are. He's the Environment Secretary, and he promised not to scrap tax breaks for farmers, promised on 2 occasions this time last year.
Well, we've inherited a situation that was far worse than we expected when we came in. We discovered a £22 billion black hole in our finances. We had to take these difficult decisions. In my area, I discovered...
It wasn't 22 billion.
In my area alone, I discovered over £1 billion of unfunded costings that were inherited by the predecessors.
So why
they
make
were
promises that you can't keep?
Because we didn't know this. When I got in, Kay, I tell you, when I came in and went through the finances of my own department, I discovered verbal commitments that were made to spend over £1 billion. There wasn't a single penny allocated by the Treasury. You know, Boris Johnson made these claims, Rishi Sunak made these claims, Jeremy Hunt made these claims at the dispatch box in a budget, and the money was never allocated. So I had to make decisions. Do I cut existing funding from my budget? Do I carry on the smoke and mirrors that they've done? Or do I be honest with people and admit that this money never existed in the first place? This is just one of the situations that we inherited because of the chaos and instability, the ill-informed mismanagement of government from the predecessors. We've done all the difficult decisions over the summer. We got all of this out into the light. In the budget, we fixed the foundations. Now you can see that we are facing the future and we're doing what it takes to get growth into the economy. We've already had companies like Amazon pledging to invest £8 billion into our economy. So people with the skills and the investment potential are now turning to Britain. That's because of the actions that we've taken.
So you decided to nick money off pensioners, and the latest modelling from the Department of Work and Pensions suggests 100,000 extra pensioners could be in poverty by 2027.
That doesn't take into account all the mitigation actions that we're taking. Pension credit needs to be taken up by more pensioners, and we're doing everything we can do. 152% increase in uptake in pension credit. We're still working flat out. Believe me, Kay, we didn't come into government to do these kind of things.
But
if we didn't take these decisions, then pensioners, farmers and everyone else in our country would pay the price into the long term. We're doing what it takes to build the foundations of our economy, to get it right, so that we can get growth into the economy, distribute it fairly, invest in our public services, because whether you're a pensioner or a farmer, you need an NHS that is working. You need an economy that is working. You need all of our public services, including roads and transport, are working. And indeed, we need pensioners to thrive into the future, which is why we've committed to the triple lock, the pension credit. We're trying to get uptake on it, which the previous government didn't do. We're doing
everything. It was a Tory policy, triple lock.
And we are keeping it because we believe that pensioners should benefit and be protected into the future.
I know you want to talk about online safety. Our Tamara Cohen has interviewed Stuart Stevens, whose son was murdered by 3 other teenagers after a dispute on social media. He believes that he lost his son because of weak governance and wants to see further restrictions on social media and phones in schools. What would you say to that?
Well, I have complete empathy with what he has gone through. I mean, I think what he's been through is shocking. It is incredibly disturbing. Just this week, I met for the second time groups of parents who are victims of social media harm. It is so disturbing to be with them and hear their individual stories. So I've enacted the power. I'm the first Secretary of State to enact a power where I can give the government priorities to the regulator. I am demanding that the regulator be more assertive when it comes to protecting children online, making sure that they get safety baked into these products that come out of social media companies from the outset. Safety needs to be baked in before the release of products and services. So I'm requiring the implementation of the existing laws which are ongoing to make sure that the Ofcom is doing so in a way that safety is there at the outset. Increasingly, you're going to see from me, so we talked last time about intimate image abuse, so that algorithms have to show that they are actively protecting people from things like intimate image abuse. Increasingly, you're going to see from me this being applied in different areas of online activity when it comes to social media. We need to make sure that these products aren't released and then the harm's understood after release. So also today, I'm launching a feasibility study so I can see where areas of evidence are lacking, so that I can use the power I have on behalf of government to start building an evidence base so we know precisely how children and vulnerable people are being impacted by social media, so we can take precise measures to keep them safe. I don't want to go to things like blanket bans because I want people to benefit from all of the the opportunities presented by modern technology, but where there are harms, I will keep everything on the table when it comes to keeping people safe.
And I know you're going to come back and talk about that in a couple of weeks with us in much more detail. We're looking forward to that. What about adulthood, when kids can use smartphones with social media, increasing that to 16 from 13?
I'm keeping all options open. The problem is, at the moment, there's very little evidence. We know that some people, because you've just given an example of some of the grotesque impacts that happen, some of the real victims, it does lead to loss of life in certain circumstances. And I am very, very attuned to that. We need to know precisely what the impact is, and it's a frustration of mine that tech companies themselves aren't building this evidence. I mean, if I was producing products that were used by more than half of teenagers, sometimes 10-year-olds, sometimes 5-year-olds, are having access to these products, I would want to know exactly what the impact that my products were having on those kids, on those people, particularly with vulnerabilities. They're not doing that. So I'm trying to do what I can do to find out where the evidence is behind the impact that social media has on children, young people and people with vulnerabilities, so that I can build policies that sometimes might be strident policies, but they need to be built on firm evidence, because the evidence just simply isn't there at the moment. And I'm open-minded as to what that means going forward. Already, guidance has gone out so that handsets shouldn't be used in schools. I think that's working. But with the impact it has in other areas, I'm open-minded, but it has to be built on evidence and based on evidence going forward.
Good to see you as always. Thank you very much
too.
indeed.
Thanks.
Thank you.